The camera opens on a close-up of Spurgeon, his face etched with a familiar blend of fervent conviction and deep empathy. He is kneeling, his hands clasped tightly around a worn Bible, knuckles white. His voice, though hushed, carries the weight of profound experience, a tremor of vulnerability beneath its strength. "I prayed for days, weeks, months, and heaven said nothing." The camera gently pulls back, revealing Spurgeon in his study, the lamplight casting long shadows. He pauses, a profound stillness settling around him, as if the memory itself is a palpable presence in the room. This is not a confession of defeat, but a shared acknowledgement of a universal human struggle, a truth that echoes in the quiet chambers of many hearts. For who among us has not stood at the threshold of a silent heaven, offering up our deepest petitions, our most fervent pleas, only to be met with a stillness that feels deafening? We pour out our souls in supplication, seeking solace in times of grief, clarity in moments of confusion, or a guiding hand through the labyrinth of life, and the sky remains unyielding, uncommunicative. This profound silence, this perceived absence of divine response, can be a crucible that tests the very foundations of our faith, leaving us adrift in a sea of unanswered questions and gnawing anxieties. It's in these moments, when the familiar pathways of prayer seem to lead only to dead ends, that doubt begins to whisper insidious suggestions, and the comforting presence of the divine can feel like a distant memory, a fading echo. We are left to grapple with the unnerving sensation of being unheard, perhaps even forgotten, by the very source of our hope. The weight of this silence can become an immense burden, a heavy cloak that stifles the spirit and breeds a weariness that settles deep within the bones. It is in this vulnerable space, this often unspoken wilderness of waiting, that our spiritual metal is truly forged, and our understanding of God's unfathomable wisdom is invited to deepen. This profound experience of a quiet heaven is not a sign of God's indifference, but rather a testament to His sovereign plan, a plan that often unfolds in ways that transcend our limited human comprehension. Spurgeon understood this intimately. He knew the ache of the unanswered prayer, the gnawing uncertainty that can accompany prolonged periods of spiritual quietude. He recognized the temptation to interpret this silence as a sign of divine disapproval or a lack of care. Yet, his life was a testament to the enduring power of faith, a faith that could hold on to hope even when the heavens seemed closed. This script is an invitation to explore that very space, to journey with Spurgeon into the heart of the silent waiting, not to find quick answers, but to discover the profound spiritual truths that lie hidden within the delay. We will delve into the nature of this divine silence, understanding that even in its apparent stillness, there is a powerful, albeit often unseen, divine voice at work. We will confront the emotional toll that prolonged waiting can take, acknowledging the very real feelings of anxiety and doubt that can arise when our prayers seem to go unanswered. But more importantly, we will unearth the profound work God is doing within us during these times, the ways in which He is shaping and refining our character, preparing us for a deeper understanding of His will and a more profound reliance on His grace. This is not about enduring hardship with stoic resignation, but about actively engaging with the process, finding strength and purpose even when the path forward is obscured. It is about learning to trust the unseen hand that guides us, even when we cannot see the destination. We will explore practical spiritual disciplines that can sustain us through these challenging seasons, practices that anchor our souls in the midst of the storm and keep our hearts tethered to the enduring promises of God. From the quiet act of worship in the face of emptiness to the courageous declaration of faith when doubts assail, these disciplines are not mere rituals, but vital lifelines that connect us to the enduring presence of the divine. They are the tools that allow us to not just survive the waiting, but to truly thrive within it, emerging from the crucible of delay with a faith that is not only tested but transformed. This journey is for anyone who has ever felt the sting of a silent heaven, for anyone who has wrestled with the agonizing slowness of divine timing. It is a shared exploration of a universal spiritual truth, a truth that reminds us that God's timing is perfect, even when it feels impossibly long. We will discover that the very delay we find so difficult is often the very pathway through which God is accomplishing His greatest work, both in the world and within our own hearts. Prepare to be reminded of the unwavering faithfulness of God, even when His voice is not immediately heard, and to find a deeper wellspring of hope and resilience within your own spirit. This is an invitation to embrace the sacredness of the wait, to find peace in the stillness, and to emerge with a faith that is unshakable. The prolonged silence from the heavens can indeed feel like a relentless adversary, a formidable opponent that tests the very sinews of our faith. Scripture itself acknowledges this profound struggle, stating in Proverbs 13 verse 12, "Hope deferred maketh the heart sick." This is not merely a poetic observation, it is a deep psychological and spiritual reality. When the anticipated response to our earnest prayers remains elusive, a subtle erosion of inner fortitude can begin. The mind, ever seeking patterns and explanations, may start to question the very nature of divine love and attentiveness. The consistent withholding of an expected outcome, even when that outcome is spiritual in nature, can foster a creeping sense of abandonment. It's a paradox. The very act of seeking God, of pouring out one's deepest needs, can, in the absence of immediate affirmation, lead to a feeling of being utterly alone. This sentiment is amplified when external circumstances mirror this internal desolation, when the world outside offers no comfort or confirmation of divine presence. Consequently, the waiting period transforms from a season of patient expectation into a landscape of potential despair. This perceived delay, while not an outright denial of our petitions, often carries the emotional weight of rejection or neglect. It's a crucial distinction, one that demands careful spiritual discernment. The enemy of our souls often exploits this very feeling, whispering insidious doubts that suggest God's power is limited or his affection has waned. The heart, weary from the prolonged vigil, becomes fertile ground for such deceptive narratives. Consider the experience of a gardener who diligently plants seeds, tends the soil, and waters with expectation, only to see the earth remain stubbornly barren for an extended period. The gardener's commitment is not diminished by the lack of immediate blooms, but the emotional toll of that barrenness is undeniable. Similarly, when our prayers are met with an extended quietude, the spiritual gardener within us can experience a profound sense of discouragement. This is precisely why understanding the nature of divine delay is paramount. It is a test, certainly, but it is also an invitation to cultivate a deeper, more resilient form of faith, one that is not contingent on immediate, visible results but is rooted in an unshakable trust in God's character and his ultimate purposes, even when those purposes remain veiled from our sight. Furthermore, it is vital to recognize that during these periods of apparent inactivity, God is not idle, rather, he is engaged in a profound work of transformation within the supplicant. The focus often shifts from altering external circumstances to reshaping the inner landscape of the individual. As Isaiah 64 verse 4 profoundly states, "No eye has seen a God besides you, who acts for those who wait for him." This verse illuminates a critical truth: God's actions are specifically directed towards those who exercise patience and trust during the waiting period. He is not merely waiting to respond, he is actively working in us, cultivating virtues such as perseverance, humility, and an even deeper reliance on his strength. The delay itself becomes a divine instrument, meticulously employed to refine our character, to burn away impurities of impatience and self-sufficiency, and to forge a spirit that is more attuned to his will. Consequently, the answer to our prayer may be delayed, but the Lord himself never slumbers or sleeps. He is perpetually engaged in the intricate work of spiritual sculpting, ensuring that when the answer does arrive, both the recipient and the provision are perfectly prepared. This active engagement of God in our waiting period underscores the importance of our own posture during these times. It is not a passive endurance but an active participation in the divine process. Therefore, what should one do when the heavens appear silent and the expected progress seems stalled? Several spiritual practices can serve as anchors, preventing the soul from drifting into the turbulent waters of doubt and despair. Firstly, engage in heartfelt worship, even in the midst of perceived emptiness. Acknowledge God's sovereignty and goodness, irrespective of your current circumstances. Secondly, actively recall and declare his promises. Even when the tangible evidence is absent, assert the truth of his word, allowing his faithfulness to counter your feelings of uncertainty. Thirdly, commit your prayers to writing. The act of articulating your petitions with renewed sincerity can serve as a powerful reaffirmation of your faith and a tangible record of your journey. Fourthly, Consciously remember past instances where God has answered your prayers or provided for you. These testimonies of His faithfulness become potent antidotes to present discouragement. Faith that perseveres through the waiting is a faith that is ultimately victorious, a faith that has learned to trust the unseen hand of God. Reflecting on this journey through the quietude of unanswered petitions, we begin to perceive a subtle yet profound shift in our internal landscape. It's as if the prolonged seasons of stillness have begun to cultivate a deeper resonance within our spirit, a quiet strength that was not present at the outset. The initial vulnerability, the raw ache of a seemingly vacant sky, has, through the persistent application of inner disciplines and a resolute gaze upon divine character, started to transmute into a more resilient form of trust. We find ourselves standing not on the shaky ground of immediate gratification, but on a bedrock of enduring faith, one that has weathered the storms of uncertainty and emerged more steadfast. The very act of holding fast to what is unseen, of declaring truths that defy present circumstances, has woven a tapestry of inner fortitude, each thread representing a moment of conscious choice to believe, to hope, and to persevere. As these various threads of experience and practice converge, a new understanding begins to dawn, illuminating the purpose woven into the fabric of delay. It's not merely about enduring the waiting, but about being actively shaped by it, refined by its presence. The spiritual fatigue that once threatened to overwhelm us now feels less like a sign of defeat and more like the necessary crucible through which deeper resilience is forged. The inner world, once turbulent with questions and anxieties, now holds a nascent peace, born from the quiet recognition that even in the absence of audible affirmation, a divine orchestration is perpetually at play. This growing awareness fosters a sense of sacred partnership, where our active engagement with the process, our worship, our declarations, our remembrance, becomes an integral part of the unfolding divine narrative, a testament to a faith that actively seeks and finds sustenance even in the most arid of spiritual landscapes. The cumulative effect of these explored dimensions is akin to a seed that, having been buried in the earth for an extended period, begins to sprout, pushing through the darkness with an innate, unstoppable drive towards the light. The initial struggle, the perceived barrenness, was not an end but a necessary prelude to growth. Similarly, the periods of waiting, though challenging, have served to deepen our roots, to strengthen our capacity to draw nourishment from unseen sources, and to prepare us for a flourishing that is yet to be fully revealed. As we pivot towards the final reflection, the path forward, though perhaps still veiled in mystery, is now illuminated by a profound inner knowing, a quiet confidence that the very delays we have navigated are not impediments to God's plan, but rather essential conduits for His most impactful work within and through us. This understanding anchors the soul, preparing it for the ultimate embrace of divine provision, whatever form it may take. Spurgeon looks directly into the camera, his gaze steady, filled with a profound understanding that transcends mere intellectual knowledge. His voice is calm, yet imbued with an unwavering conviction that speaks directly to the heart. God hasn't forgotten you. He's just preparing a greater answer than the one you imagined. This simple yet profound declaration serves as the linchpin, the illuminated truth that emerges from the crucible of waiting. It is the ultimate revelation that transforms the perceived silence of the heavens from a source of despair into a harbinger of divine abundance. The journey through the valley of unanswered prayer, though fraught with the potential for doubt and weariness, ultimately leads to a higher vantage point, one from which we can discern the intricate tapestry of God's unfailing love and meticulous preparation. When we feel the sting of delay, when our prayers seem to dissipate into an unresponsive void, it is precisely in those moments that the divine architect is most actively engaged in crafting a response far more magnificent than our limited human imagination could ever conceive. This is not a passive waiting, but an active season of divine cultivation, where the very soil of our souls is being enriched, our faith deepened, and our capacity for receiving and stewarding God's blessings is being expanded. The answer may tarry, indeed, but the Lord's attention is unwavering. His purpose is not to deny, but to refine, to prepare, and ultimately, to bestow with a generosity that eclipses our most fervent petitions. The truth that God is preparing something greater is not a platitude meant to soothe fleeting discomfort, it is a foundational principle of a faith that trusts in an omniscient and loving Creator. The periods of silence are not indicative of absence, but of an intense, unseen activity. Think of the immense power required to birth a star, the eons of cosmic gestation that precede its brilliant emergence. Similarly, the most profound spiritual transformations, the most impactful divine interventions, often arise from periods of intense, quiet work within the human heart. The delay is the divine crucible, forging within us a resilience, a deeper understanding of His timing, and a humility that allows us to receive His ultimate provision with profound gratitude. It teaches us that our perceived timeline is not His, and that His wisdom far surpasses our own understanding. This realization shifts our perspective from a focus on the immediate absence of an answer to an anticipation of the magnificent unveiling of God's perfect plan, a plan that is always designed for our ultimate good and His glory. Therefore, as we emerge from this contemplative space, let this truth resonate deeply within your being: the waiting is not a void, but a sacred space of preparation. It is a testament to the boundless love and the infinite wisdom of the divine. The true practice begins now, not in striving for an immediate answer, but in embracing the present moment with unwavering trust. Cultivate the seeds of patience, nurture the blossoms of hope, and continue to offer your heart in worship, even when the skies seem quiet. For in that quietude, a symphony of divine purpose is being composed, an answer of unparalleled beauty and power is being meticulously prepared, destined to unfold in God's perfect time, exceeding every expectation and revealing the depth of His unfathomable grace. Rest assured, you are not forgotten, you are being profoundly, divinely prepared.